Hey friends, Damian Mason coming to you from my hotel room in Wisconsin. We're going to talk about the issue with Environmental Working Group and Monsanto and what it means for you. You see, the Environmental Working Group pounced on. Their timing was amazing, of course, because that's what radical activist organizations do. They work public relations magically because they take all this money in from their donors and they go out and fight the industries that they decided are mortal enemy number one. And of course, Monsanto fits that bill. They've been demonizing them since the Environmental Working Group came into being. Unfortunately, we have an ag-ignorant consumer base, and we have a media that leans to the left, very much like these activist groups themselves, and will lap up and disperse the propaganda. This is no exception. It was just yesterday that the Environmental Working Group dropped their study, and it was not by accident. It comes a week after the $289 million lawsuit verdict against Monsanto on the grounds of Monsanto is an evil corporation that caused this man to have cancer in California. Now, here's the deal. The facts were really not the issue. The science wasn't really the issue. They went to the most liberal city in the most liberal state, San Francisco, California, and found a jury that was ag-ignorant. There were no farmers, nor chemical handlers, nor licensed chemical dealers on the jury. It was just your basic San Franciscans. And they basically put Monsanto on trial for being an evil corporation that makes chemicals. After all, you've marched against them for years. You've signed the petitions at Whole Foods. Now punish them. And that's exactly what the jury did. It's going to be appealed. It might get reduced. It won't get overturned. Trust me. So the Environmental Working Group pounces on this, drops their story out there that they have found parts per billion of glyphosate, that's the chemical in Roundup, made by Monsanto originally and completely off patent now and made by a gazillion other chemical manufacturers. So glyphosate is allegedly in our Cheerios. And they made sure in their press release to say it's in children's cereals. Because if you're going to work emotion and turn the tide of consumer sentiment against a company, you've got to talk about poisoning children. And they, of course, did that. It's an age-old trick. The Environmental Working Group was described in a couple of these news publications as a public health organization. I'll take exception to that. You're about as much a public health organization as the Humane Society of the United States, which is not about humane treatment of animals. They are about removing all farm animals. They want there to be no meat on any plate in America. No leather shoes, no leather pants, God forbid. No leather jackets. No eggs, no cheese, no chocolate milk. No milkshakes. That's what the Humane Society wants. The Environmental Working Group wants there to be no Monsanto. And they might get their way. 5,000 cases are up. 5,000 cases are up. We've done our first one. It was $289 million. Run that math. $289 million times 5,000 cases is about $1.5 trillion. A company that was only worth $62.5 billion when it was bought by Bayer couldn't possibly sustain paying $1.5 trillion of lawsuits. So if the Environmental Working Group gets what they want, which is for there to be no Monsanto, what then happens for the other vested organizations, say the plaintiffs' attorneys? The plaintiffs' attorneys want there to be a Monsanto long enough to steal their money. They get usually 1/3 of the settlement. Well, 1/3 of $289 million is like $95 million. That's a hell of a lot of money. I'd sign up for that. And of course, the government. If Monsanto doesn't go out of business, the government will be forced to act by these radical cause groups, these extremist organizations, and they'll say, we're going to do our part. We're going to tax Roundup. We're going to tax glyphosate because we're going to make sure we tax them to punish them. Kind of like they did with tobacco. Pack of cigarettes is about 2/3 taxes. They're still legal, so you go and buy a $7.50 pack of Marlboros and you're giving $5 of that to the government. The government will try and say that they're doing that for the greater good. You tell me where that money went. So that's what we're up against. And I'm going to say this. You other chemical companies, you're to blame also. You allowed Monsanto to receive all the shrapnel for all these years and decided it's better for you just to keep your head down. Now who do you think they're going to come after next? Because environmental activists, people that want a cause, do not go away just because they put a company out of business. They just move to the next cause. You're probably going to be it. This is very bad for agriculture. It's very bad for the business of agriculture. It also proves that we are in a land of feelings, not facts. And it also proves that the media will perpetuate any food fear, especially if it's perpetuated by the Environmental Working Group to begin with. I'm Damian Mason. I talk about the business of agriculture. This isn't good for us.